always said, if I knew that I paid more taxes, people in the world, in this country, would live better. I would do it.
Right, of course.
I just don't believe that they're good at spending it.
That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like if you're putting in this, if you've generated 35 trillion of debt and these are the results.
What's so bad about the United States? Why the fuck are you here as a billionaire? You could live anywhere in the world, anywhere you want. I don't even think you're from here. Is this guy like Norwegian? Where is this from with that last name? Where are you from? You're here in the United States. It's such a horrible place to be. Why the fuck are you even here? What has it up so much? Where is he from? Born in Iowa? That's even worse. Anthropic, Google, OpenAI, and xAI granted up to $200 million for AI work from the Defense Department. Wow. ChatGPT, what's the best plane to use for this attack? Elon Musk's xAI also announced Grok for government on Monday. This is one of the reasons why I just can't take anybody in the techno whatever world seriously. Like all of these SF yippie dipshits who got, like, if like, no offense, but if you're so stupid that you got hoodwinked by Trump, like it says so much about your character and about how just woefully inadequate you are when it comes to evaluating anything outside of your like autistic world of computers. Like you just have no business being in any part of this world. Like why am I trusting Elon Musk who gets pained when Grok says things like trans people are human? He's like, we gotta fix this. We're working on this right now. Like, holy that's the guy who's in charge of the company making AI for the government? That's the guy? Like, who's operating the F-35 right now, sir? Mecha Hitler. Oh, as long as Mark Andreessen signs off on it, okay? Kill me, dude. Just kidding. God, that guy is so stupid. Has this guy said, give me a video where I can be impressed, right? You're like, oh, okay, never mind. At least he knows something about something. These guys aren't all dumb about everything, right? They're not like all Elon Musk copycats, right? They must know a lot about at least their area of whatever, right? I don't even know what this guy's background is. Mark Andreessen. Please tell me he's more than just like a fucking investor or something. Or just a fucking owner. American businessman and former software engineer. He's the co-author of Mosaic, the first widely used web browser with a graphical user interface. Oh, okay. So our star programmer from 1994. Okay. He co-founded and later sold the software company Opsware to Hewlett-Packard. Thank you. All right. So if John Titor or whatever comes back from the past looking for an Apple, we can call up this guy to help translate the language. Jesus Christ. Sorry, I don't know. He might have an impressive background. I'm being an asshole. Listening to this guy talk about politics makes me want to commit suicide. Did his head become more conish over time? What's happening? Is his brain trying to escape? I'm sorry. I woke up early just to be a hater today. I'm sorry. God, I hate this guy. Okay. We'll give him 2 chances. Okay. 1 hour. What do we got? What are we talking about?
On Blue Sky.
She's probably on Blue Sky. She might be on X. Well, she was on X. I think she deleted her profile.
Yes.
But the poor lady, I mean, she was being very arrogant, and she laughed and mocked this man and said, you do realize you wasted your vote, right?
That's right.
And she laughed, which makes her hard to feel sorry for.
That's right.
And it's like you were ready to mock this man.
Yes.
But in her eyes, it was all about reproductive freedom. And she thought that was under attack under the Trump administration and that women were going to stand up and they're going to stop that because in her echo chamber, that was the case. Yeah. Everybody was they all agreed, we're universally on board with this idea that Trump is evil, we got to get rid of him. And
I mean, well, that did happen, right? Like states are outlawing abortion and everything. This is 7 months ago. I don't understand. Maybe something before this would have changed how that comment appeared.
Women are going to vote and it's going to be fun. But like, Who are you hanging out with, lady? Yeah. You know, you could hang out with a bunch of people that think baseball's awesome. Yeah. And then, you run into someone from another country like, what the f is baseball? Like, you got to realize there's a lot of people out there.
Yeah. And people really don't like being talked down to.
They really don't. They don't like you mocking the fact that, first of all, nobody wasted their vote. Right. Like, that's not how it goes. Right. Like, you don't waste your vote if you vote different and the other side wins. That's not how the other side won. That's just how it is. Right. Like, wasting the vote is a crazy way to look at it. Like, because I think also people look at things like tribal games. In Texas is a huge football state and people love football. And it's always we this, we that. When UT plays South Carolina, we this, we that. It's like people love to be a part of a team that's winning. And they apply that, especially if they're not into sports, to other things. I think it's just a war mentality. It's a tribal war mentality that's been sort of subverted in the human mind and applied to other things. It could be like Microsoft versus Apple. It could be Android versus Apple, iOS. It's weird how people get so tribal and then connect their own personal identity to other people agreeing with these ideas that they believe.
Yeah. I don't know for two thoughts. One is,
that's so crazy. Imagine being tribal and believing things just because your tribe believes it, Joe.
The Democrats for a long time were the Big Tent Party. So the Democrats were the coalition of people who had very different points of view on things. And of course, famously, it's all the different identity groups and it's all the different economic and unions and all these things. And
oh boy, are we about to hear? I can't discount him again. I'm sorry. I need to give him a fair shot. He's not about to say something like the party got completely co-opted by the far left and that's all their policy positions and DEI and all that bullshit now. Right?
Republicans were like the party of like rigidity, right? And just for whatever set of a lot of the woke stuff had a lot to do with it. Is it flipped to where at least today Trump's Republican Party is the Big Tent Party.
Like being bullied by woke people or seeing woke people was literally the mind rot. I think it's just because nobody knows anything about politics or government or anything, and so like woke is like the easiest thing for them to understand, right? Like, do you think that girls have cocks? Yes. Well, I don't like that. And so I'm going to join the Republican Party. I that's literally it. That is the start and stop of the political analysis of like 95% of people that go on these fucking shows. It's insane to me.
Yeah. To your point on having all these new people, and many of whom are former Democrats.
A lot of them.
And the Democrats have decided to try to isolate out anybody, right, who disagrees on any issue and demand, right, lockstep conformity through the cancellation process. And so that's a very interesting inversion that happened kind of without anybody saying anything about it, but it did happen. And then I think the other inversion was the economic inversion, which is, remember the criticism of the Republican Party for a long time was it was the party of trickle-down economics.
Yes.
Where the idea was the rich people are going to get all the money because Reagan administration, and then basically if poor people get any money, it's going to be because the rich people like trickle some down.
Right.
I think that inverted to where the Democrats, especially in the last 4 years, became the trickle-down party, which was we're going to tax and we're going to collect all the money and give it to the government, and then we're going to let the government hand it out.
What do you think trickle down means? What? It inverted to where the Democrats became the party of people wanting high taxes and the Republicans wanted low taxes. Oh, you mean like the last like 30, 40 years of 50, 60 years of U.S. political history?
Right, but they did it under the guise of tax the rich.
They did it.
Like they did it with this Robin Hood mentality. At least they expressed that.
Of course, that's how it starts. But then you end up with $35 trillion federal debt. You end up with this giant annual deficit. And then you end up with all this money being handed out, right? Handed out in all these grants and all these things. Like just this like shower of money coming from the government. But of course, if the government's giving you money, it also means the government can take money away, right? Like if you're making somebody dependent on you because you're giving them money, then you have a tremendous position of power because you can make their life horrible by pulling the money away.
Right. You can also control their ideology that way.
100%. Yeah. You own them. Like it's actually a form, it's on the spectrum to a form of like dump.
Like, you know what a really interesting question would be here? Wow, so you're saying that if you give somebody money, like the government, you can take it away and control their ideology. Do you think that anybody should be concerned about any of the businesses that you own, that you're like a majority stakeholder in, or that you have like large ownership percentages of? Like, couldn't you control their ideology? And have him talk about that. That would actually be an interesting question. If Joe Rogan could actually interview people and ask challenging, interesting questions instead of just serving as another platform for like the mental sludge of the world to sit here and listen to for 3 hours while literally absolutely nothing insightful or interesting is said. It's just like, oh, how can Joe Rogan make me feel good today?
Domination,
right?
That should make us very uncomfortable. And so, maybe that would be fine if the debt and the deficit didn't get out of control and inflation didn't get out of control, but it did. And then at that point, it's like, okay, like this new kind of sort of tax and spend driven trickle down economics is clearly not sustainable. It's not going to work.
So the way the Trump administration is going to approach the economy, they want
the tax and spend is not going to work, as opposed to the Trump admin where it was just spend and spend. In the first 4 years,
less regulation. They want tariffs and less regulation, and they want more reliance on U.S. energy. Right? They want to drill more natural gas, more fracking, more drilling for oil, and then allow companies to work without regulations inhibiting their performance. This will boost the economy. You'll have more productivity. You have more American manufacturing. You have more things happening.
Yeah. So the two headline things you hear from them whenever they talk about this, two headline things are: number one, growth. You just need faster growth. But by the way, it's the only way to resolve the long-term fiscal situation. It's the only way to resolve the debt. There's only two ways to do it. You can inflate your way out of it and end up in 1930s Germany with hyperinflation. Like that. That's one track you can get on, which is a very bad track, and you don't want to go there. Or you can grow in resolve the long-term fiscal situation. It's the only way to resolve the debt. There's only two ways to do it. You can inflate your way out of it and end up in 1930s Germany with hyperinflation. Like that. That's one track you can get on, which is a very bad track, and you don't want to go there. Or you can grow.
That inflation wasn't intentional. The country was falling apart after the empire was destroyed after World War I. Where does he even learn these factoids from?
Faster, because if you grow faster, then your economy can catch up to the debt, and you can pay down the debt as you grow. And so they want to go for a high rate of growth. And then the other thing,
remember when we had an economic contraction in Q1 for literally no reason at all?
Is they want America to win. And this, my partner Ben and I were able to spend time with Trump this summer, and that was like his adamant thing. He kept going back, which is like, look, America has to win. And specifically, what that means is America has to win in business and in technology and in industry generally globally. Like our companies should be the ones that win these, broad. We should win global markets. Like our company should be the global.
How can anybody be against that?
How can you get that? How can anybody be against that? He's so smart. Hold on, follow me here. Follow me. Wait. Does he kind of look like? Hold on. How can anybody be? how can I begin to? A little bit? You think he kind of looks a little bit like this? How can I begin to? How can I begin? Well, what do you want to do? I just want to make America as great as it can be. How can I begin to? How can I begin this guy? How can I begin at all?
I happen to think that makes a lot of sense. Yes.
I know. I mean, obviously you're a wealthy man, and I am as well. But it's like, how could you not want that?
Yes. By the way, if you are in favor of a high level of social support, if you want...
What do you think the end game with these guys is? Like, do they not have an end game and they just try to... I don't know. Maybe... I don't know. I don't know if it's a narcissism thing. The narcissism thing exists with Trump, with Mr. Girl. Like some people have the narcissism that precludes... With Elon Musk, that precludes you from like knowing how you come off to other people. Like Hassan, for instance. Hassan does not have the narcissism that Trump has, because Hassan feels shame sometimes about aspects of his life, and he tries to talk around it. Like Lav doesn't have the narcissism that that Trump has or Mr. Girl has, right? They're different. It's different, right? You can tell sometimes when a person is trying to cover for things or is trying to cover for some insecurity or whatever, it's because they're aware of it. Like it feels like they even have that insecurity to some extent, or the way that it manifests, you have to be aware of it. But people like Elon, I don't know about this guy, I don't know enough about this or the rest of these crypto dudes. Some of these people's narcissism is just so extreme. They don't have shame. There's no shame because they wouldn't even know what to feel shame about. They genuinely think that every time they open their mouth, like something profound and insightful is coming out, when they're just saying the most retarded shit.
There to be lots of welfare programs and food assistance programs, all these things. I would argue you also want that because it's the growth that will pay for all the social programs, right? Like that's how you square the circle. That's how you actually have your cake and eat it too, which is like first your economy just generates a fountain of money through growth and economic success, and then you can pay for whatever programs you want. I actually don't personally like. I'm totally fine. Like set up all the programs you want, all the social spending you want, all the safety nets you want, and as long as
set up all the programs you want, set up all the social spending you want. I thought you just said that I thought you guys were both just criticizing the Democrats for being Robin Hood, though. I thought you just said that was a new form of trickle-down economics. Like their ideas don't even survive from one paragraph to the next. They're just fucking stupid.
It's easy to pay for because you're growing so fast, then everybody wins.
Okay.
Yeah, right. I mean, I've always said if I knew that I paid more taxes, people in the world, in this country would live better. I would do it.
Right, of course.
I just don't believe that they're good at spending it.
That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like if you're putting in this, if you've generated $35 trillion of debt and these are the results.
Yeah.
No.
Like what? What are the results? What's bad about it? Imagine if Joe Rogan asked a single critical question ever in his entire life. I wonder if this guy's cone brain would mushroom cloud out and explode. I wonder if he would actually undergo actual explosion at the studio. No one would survive. What's so bad about the United States? Why the fuck are you here as a billionaire? You could live anywhere in the world, anywhere you want. I don't even think you're from here. Is this guy like Norwegian? Where is this from with that last name? Where are you from? You're here in the United States. It's been such a horrible fucking place to be. Why the fuck are you even here? What is it up so much? Where is he from? Born in Iowa, that's even worse. I'm sorry. Okay, where are his parents from? No offense, Iowa. I feel like it's like a Norwegian last name. But still, he's a billionaire. You can go move anywhere else. How is this country so fucked that you're still here? Why?
Like this is not the deal. And this is my friend that I talked about earlier. That was the point he made. It's just like, look, the deal has been broken. Like this is not the deal anybody signed up for. This is not how it's supposed to work. Everybody knows it.
And when you were talking about giving people social programs and giving them benefits, and then you could take that away at any moment. This was one of the big fears that people had about letting illegal immigrants into the country and moving them to swing states, which clearly happened, and also so giving them a bunch of benefits, which clearly happened. Money, food stamps, housing, all that happened. Stuff that...
Then why are all the raids at fucking farms and Home Depot? How are they stealing benefits and stealing jobs at the same time? How are they getting paid all these crazy benefits, but then also they're being enslaved at below minimum wage? How are these legendary immigrants doing so much all at the same time?
It wasn't available to veterans.
How are they brought in to steal votes, but we lost all 7 swing states? What's happening?
Stuff that wasn't available.
This is the worst conspiracy. This is the worst conspiracy of all time. They tried to rig the election. So when Biden was president and had the most ability to rig the election, he couldn't do it. No, wait. When Obama had the ability to rig the election, he couldn't do it. And then Trump won the election. And then somehow they rigged the election under Trump. And then Biden won. And then when Biden was president, when they had brought in even more illegals from all the asylum shit, then they lost the next election. Even though 10 million illegals came in, as Joe Rogan said, all the swing states, I guess, they got less votes. And then Trump, what's happening here? Is the deep state like a what is it called? What are those things? oh my God, I don't even remember. You go up and down on, what's the name of it? The toys at the parks. A seesaw. I was thinking Tito saw. Is the deep state just a giant seesaw? Is that what happens? If everybody moves to one side, the deep state is automatically the other side?
Food stamps, housing, all that happened. Stuff that wasn't available to veterans, stuff that wasn't available to homeless people, wasn't available to the very poor of this country. All of a sudden, people who came here illegally got those things.
That's right.
And the thought was, if you gave these people these things and you gave them a way better life, look.
Oh, I was thinking of teeter-totter. Why does that sound like a fake thing? Okay, maybe.
I was living in a third world country with a family, and I knew that I could come to America and I could get a job, an actual job, and make money, and my family's going to definitely eat.
Right.
I'll vote for whoever the f you want me to vote for. I don't care.
Right.
Where did this happen? I can't believe. Okay, so this was a more common thought because people brought this up in the Peter Boghossian video with me. Did I show that? I showed that on stream, right? Where, because there was this argument where people were trying to say that they brought in illegal immigrants to vote, and I'm like, but there were less votes. How does this make sense? How did they bring in all these people to vote, but there were less votes? Which video was it? He never posts a full video. He always cuts them up. Was it on the Department of Education debate? Trump's sex and gender policies debate? Oh, conservatives on immigration.
This was...
Maybe it was here because I'm fast forwarded to this part.
Commit crime, they're just going to start stealing stuff. Like, it's not ideal, I admit, but like, what else are you going to do?
Well, convenient to just go through.
Considering I don't see any evidence of there being that
Get movement when I would.
fake news.
Really?
There's a super easy question that nobody will be able to answer.
Wow, why not just say the question instead of poisoning the well like that?
What do you have to say? All those people shifted.
I still think that if you believe that the best explanation for immigration is that administration wants more people to vote for them, I think that's just totally untrue. First off, I don't think that illegal immigrants voting played any major role in the election. And while I do think it's an interesting point, David, that it could affect redistricting, I don't think that it would affect that to any amount that would actually change the amount of the election, or that Democrats are thinking, okay, well, let's let more illegal immigrants in so that we can redistrict.
All right, now let's swap you two out. So we have significant movement when I was not looking. What do you think caused people to move to skew it so heavily to that side?
Fake news.
Really?
There's a super easy question that nobody will be able to answer. How is it possible that Biden imported millions of illegal voters to vote for him, and somehow Harris got less votes than Biden?
A lot of people want to say something. Hold on.
I mean, unless we're saying that Trump imported millions of illegal voters as well, and then, like, I don't understand how Kamala would have gotten less votes. It doesn't make any sense.
All right, let me just swap you out, sir. You come in, sir. Tell him.
Okay, I think that Kamala Harris was a particularly uninspiring candidate. I think she performed terribly on the campaign trail, unfortunately. So I don't think that there was anybody who was very, well, there were supporters of the campaign, but obviously there was not a widespread sort of groundswell of energy behind her campaign. So while they may have thought perhaps we might get a lot of votes from a particular group or a particular base, it didn't actually eventuate just because she wasn't a particularly impressive candidate.
I'm not sympathetic. Like, imagine I brought in people to rig the election for me, but my candidate wasn't good enough, so they didn't vote for her. That's why it's called rigging the election. You don't have to have a good candidate. That's why you rig it. That's why it's rigged.
Back to those arguments, one of the frustrating things I think about arguing with Trump supporters, there's a thing I like to call all roads lead to Rome. Basically, no matter what happens, there's always some kind of explanation for it. So in 2020, the election was clearly rigged because Trump lost. But then when Trump won in 2024, does that mean that it wasn't rigged then? But it means that, well, actually, they just rigged 2020, but they didn't rig 2024. But there's no evidence of any election being rigged except when Trump tried to rig it with the electoral votes. And then when you look at the actual arguments for, well, they brought in illegal immigrants to vote, but the illegal immigrants that were brought in to vote didn't like Kamala Harris enough that... Like if you want to argue the merits of the campaign, that's fine, but you would never bring in illegal immigrants and then say, now that we brought you here legally, we want you guys to make the best decision on who you want to vote for. And then also there's a quick thing, because this kept being brought up, whether or not you need an ID to vote is not the same as whether or not you need an ID to register to vote. Those are two fundamentally separate questions. And every state, as conservatives love states' rights, ought to have the ability to decide how they ID people or how they decide who's allowed to vote at the time of the election. But when it comes to registering somebody to vote, that's a separate question that you do need some form of identification for anybody that's registered to vote in any state.
Okay, so I don't think I made any claim about the election being rigged in either 2020 or in this election.
That's the prompt we have to defend, by the way.
Well, it's an election rigging claim, right?
Yes.
Well, no, I didn't personally make the claim that the election was rigged. I think if there was an intention to bring people in of a particular group which might lean towards the Democratic side, and that was the intention to allow people across the border, then potentially that's it's something which didn't work. Maybe it was an attempt to do something which didn't actually work out in their favor.
Can I ask a question just on
yes,
that?
And then
I just... one thing that is just astounding to me, and again, it just comes down to ignorance. Think about what you're saying there, right? Like, maybe there was the largest political scandal in all of politics, potentially through all of human history, and it just didn't work. Like, what? You're saying millions of people were brought in illegally by the Democrats to vote. And you're just like, what are the chances that, maybe it happened and it just didn't work? Do you understand the gravity of what you're alleging there? And then you're dismissing in the same sentence as maybe like it just didn't work that well? Like, do you understand what you're saying? Like, you could never get away with statements of gravity like this. Like, I noticed you guys were hanging out, like John and Jacob are hanging out with you guys too. Like, why didn't Sarah want to come over and hang out too? Oh, I don't know. I think she just doesn't get along well with, with Jacob and the other guy. And, I think they made fun of her. I think they raped her a few times. Like, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't really follow it all. And I think he made fun of her purse or something. It's like, wait, what? Wait, what happened? It's like, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. It's like how do you just offhandedly say something like that?
The claim that the election was rigged. I think if there was an intention to bring people in of a particular group which might lean towards the Democratic side, and that was the intention to allow people across the border, then potentially that's it's something which didn't work. Maybe it was an attempt to do something which didn't actually work out in their favor.
Can I ask a question just on
yes,
that?
Yeah, and then we're out of time, but go ahead.
Or just like, I guess two things to keep on the same question, kind of like, what would it take to ever convince you that that wasn't the case, considering I don't see any evidence of there being that plan in place? Like, how could you possibly be persuaded out of that position, I guess?
Out of the position that
the illegals just come here, they came here to work, COVID came, it destroyed a lot of economies around the world, and a lot of people were like, hey, the US is a huge economy, they want a lot of workers, I'm gonna go work up there. What would it take to persuade you that maybe that's why they came instead of Biden somehow?
I think there's definitely those factors. However, the amount of staggering incompetence at the border, I mean, the amount of people that were allowed to just go through, there was either a plan in place to stand down certain security measures, or there was orders to not enforce them as fully as before.
Like, think about what he's saying there. Oh, so you're saying that, remember, we have no evidence of any of this. You're saying that there were orders given to all of ICE to stand down at border enforcement. None of this leaked, no whistleblowers, no evidence, nobody FOIA'd any of this. That's your claim? Really? Really? Tickets are now on sale for the Houston leg of my anti-Trump Pangburn debate mayhem annihilation tour. If you've been at some of these events, get some airplane tickets, fly to Houston and come join me there. Or if you are on the West Coast or want to fly to the West Coast to hang out, I'll be touring there as well. Check out below. There is a link to buy tickets. The next tour date is August 2nd in Houston. And then there's a whole bunch afterwards all along the West Coast. Make sure you check out the link below. Don't miss it. Be there, buy merch. Maybe I'll even have some extra knives for you to buy. I misspoke at that. I know this was posted 4 months ago, but I think this conversation was also, this happened after the election. So, and also Trump didn't leak anything about that. Nobody came out and said anything.
So I think it's just the facts play out that there was some kind of either plan or.
And then listen to what he said. The facts play out. Like, do you know how induction works at all? Like, you have no facts. What do you mean the facts play out? You haven't even listed any facts that are relevant to your case. What are you talking about?
Of security.
Okay. Could you go back, and I'm going to invite you up forward, sir, to directly address his comments, please?
Destiny, I'm very open-minded. I want you to convince me of it otherwise. But why were they illegal immigrants paid so much money to come into this country?
I think that there are
I need to look into all of these like programs that these people allege, because I don't know all the details on all of them. I have a feeling they're probably nowhere near as extravagant as these people say, though. Because there's this argument that like every single person that claimed asylum came in and got like $10,000. I'm guessing none of this is real. Or what did happen, it was like in exceptional circumstances, but I haven't looked into or dug into all of this.
And the department?
Sorry.
My life is infinitely better than it was in this America, and I could get a job, an actual job, and make money, and my family's going to definitely eat.
Right.
I'll vote for whoever the you want me to vote for. I don't care.
Right.
My life is infinitely better than it was in this totalitarian shithole that I was in until I walked here. I'll do whatever you want.
Right.
Like, I just want my family to survive, and I think everything's it's so much better than where I was. If I'm in some war-torn part of the world, it's so much better here.
Right.
I don't care if the Democrats win or the
War-torn part of the world, and then they walk here? Like, what countries are you alluding to right now? Like, what are you talking about? I don't know which. Can we get some named country? I'm just so curious.
Republicans. I'm in America,
Right.
and if the Republicans didn't give me any money,
Right.
and they want to get me out,
Right.
they want to deport me.
Right.
But this nice lady,
Right.
she gave me an EBT card, and I'm staying at the Roosevelt Hotel in New York City,
Right.
and I can get a flight somewhere else if I want to go there.
Right.
Oh, this is wonderful.
Right. So that's how it starts, and there is a lot of that going on. But I will say, one of the things that's interesting is it doesn't necessarily stick that way, and the sort of evidence for that is the sort of dramatic ramp up in the Hispanic vote for Trump.
Well, Hispanic people generally are very hard workers.
So this gets to the thing. So I'll just tell a quick story on this. So after the
So what? So the Dems brought all these people over to rig the election, but then, and then to take free shit, but also they're hard workers. And also they did it to, so they're not stealing money, but they are stealing money, but they're also hard workers. and they were brought over to vote for Trump, but they're also hard workers, so they vote for, or they brought over to vote for Kamala, but they're also hard workers, so they vote the other way. Like none of this even is internally consistent. It's
Very hard workers.
So this gets to the thing. So I'll just tell a quick story.
Get me the
So
fuck outta here.
after the night after the 2016 election, like literally everybody I knew was just like completely traumatized. Like we were all just like completely freaked out. Everybody was shocked.
You were freaked out
Yeah,
too?
I was completely freaked out. Yeah, everybody was freaked out.
And then people love this story. People laugh about like Glenn Greenwald's portrait getting leaked. This is just the same, right? These guys are like on their knees with like giant ponytail like Trump plugs, like going around like, oh yeah, like I was so humiliated in 2016, guys, and I couldn't believe it. And then I realized how great, Daddy Trump was. I was one of those liberals. Like, remember me? I was one of the liberals who was sad when Trump got elected. And then I realized how great and amazing he was. Like, it's so fucking weird that they're so excited to do this dance.
Like I didn't expect him to win the nomination. I didn't expect him to win the race. Like, and then and the media is on like full hysterical blast, and it's the end of the world. And he's he's a Russian spy. All this crazy stuff that we now know not to be true. It's just like full on. So, a group of us went out to dinner at a restaurant in Palo Alto, and and the atmosphere was like a funeral. I mean, like everybody in the restaurant was just like despondent, like ready to slit their wrists. And so we're sitting there eating, and like the food doesn't taste good. And it's just like can't taste the food, you can't taste the drinks. Like everybody's just depressed.
Wow.
And it gets this thing of like my God, I can't believe that Trump, this, that, so you see, racist and anti-Hispanic and all this stuff. And it was one of those moments where the young waiter, who's Hispanic young man in his 20s, one of those rare moments where
It's actual pseudo cult behavior of righting wrongs. Oh, maybe. I don't know why you're saying pseudo cult behavior, but
broke into the conversation at the table, right? But it was in context. It was like, oh, thank God, because like we're just depressing ourselves to death. So like, thank God he's going to say something. And he said, I think you guys are looking at it all wrong. He's like, my father thinks Trump is fantastic. My father came here as an immigrant, 30 years ago, built a life here, became a citizen, bought into the system, pays taxes, like raised a family,
mowing his lawn with a MAGA hat on.
he thinks this guy is great. He thinks this guy is fantastic, and he voted for him. And he just has, and then you've heard this before, but then it's like, and the thing that this guy said, the thing.
I thought this country was so f***ing horrible, though. Like, what happened? Well, I thought America was going wrong or horrible, or maybe it just wasn't the past 5 years, but not 30 years, I guess, when this guy's dad or whatever came.
Father thinks is terrible is if other people are able to come here, they're able to cut in line. They they didn't have to go through the process. They didn't have to prove anything. They're not bought into the system, right? They're able to jump in, and then they don't, and then they're not buying into the system. And part of it maybe they're not being accepted, but also part of it is they're not buying in. They're not assimilating. They're not becoming part of the of what makes America America. And in some cases, and by the way, in some cases, the criminals are coming across and terrorists are coming across and gangs.
Yes.
And it's like my father's not in favor of any of that. Right. My father wants to be part of a great society, of a great America, not some dysfunctional, basically just disaster zone. And I remember the group of us, it was my first glimmer of like, okay, I need to like completely rethink my whole sense of like how the world works. Because
Is that one conversation?
Yeah. Well, it was weird because it was like, so what happened with me is like, I grew up in rural Wisconsin, which is now like completely.
By the way, if this was on a Democrat podcast, Joe Rogan and his other suck ODing on ivermectin up their ass friends would be talking about like, did you know that there was this billionaire on this Democrat talk show, and the billionaire was at a table with a whole bunch of other billionaires deciding how they were going to feel about the new election going forward, and all of these like super wealthy billionaire guys were basically plotting and scheming on like what the messaging was going to be going forward to support the new billionaire candidate who just won the election. Like, but because it's Joe and there's no critical questions asked at all, the guy is
a Trump country. And so from like 0 to 18, like I completely understood the mentality, and I was always like explaining to my friends of like, no, like this is, this is like a different place and people think differently. And then somehow between the ages of like 18 and 40 or whatever, I just like forgot. And I became a Californian, right? I became a fully assimilated Californian. And I was just like, well, of course the Californians are much more sophisticated and advanced than people, where I came from. And so of course, everybody in California has it figured out. And of course, California is going to lead the country in all this thinking, right? And Trump was, for me, Trump 2016 was the wake-up call of like, no. Like, that's just like completely, that is such an impoverished worldview of how this country works and of how people think, that it doesn't explain because you have to explain what happened, and then you have to, like, if you have some sense of being able to predict what's next, which is what I'm supposed to be doing for a living, it's what investing is supposed to be.
I hate this guy. Okay, I feel fully justified in my hatred for this guy.